Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Calls. This is the 2024 3M Open DFS Tactics Show. We have everything you need to finalize your lineups for this week's 3M Open DFS slate. We have the projected ownerships. We're going to update the weather forecast here momentarily. We're here for all of your last-minute questions so you can dominate this week at the 3M Open. Got a fun show for you all. Let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. All statistics provided tonight and every night are from FantasyNational.com. It is the best golf analytic tool out there for your money. There are a lot of great golf analytic tools out there. No doubt about that. I simply believe Fantasy National is the best. Go check out FantasyNational.com. You will not regret it. In the description of the video, there are links to all of the social media. First off, my X and Instagram, where normally on Mondays I post research around the tournament's winners, or previous winners, I should say, some patterns that they all share, and players in the field that also follow that pattern. With the 3M being a pretty new event on the PGA Tour, there wasn't a lot of a pattern, so no research this week. But in 2 weeks, which I'll explain here momentarily why in 2 weeks, but in 2 weeks for the Wyndham, I will definitely have some research for you all. So if you want to see the weekly research that I do on the PGA Tour, give me a follow at your preferred social media site. X is also where I place my weekly betting cards and my top player usage in the DFS contest I play. That comes out every Wednesday night after the DFS Tactics show, so it'll be out later this evening once I finalize my own lineups and such. So if you want to see my betting cards and the players that I'm using most often in my lineups, give me a follow over at X. Lastly, for social media, Gabe's handle is in the description. He writes a great article called The Fringe. It's a great way to start your week of preparation, and he continues to update you with his own version of information throughout the week. And if you are a subscriber to his article, which is free to do, you're going to be able to join us in his Substack chat every Wednesday evening after Calls in the DFS Tactics show as we continue the DFS talk over there. A lot of discussion every week. I really enjoy it. Again, I'm just very gracious to Gabe to have me on over there as well. It's very informative, very fun. Go follow him over on social media as well. Lastly, we are live. Chat is open. Want to hear from you all. In addition to the poll question, which I have typed up, want to hear from you all in that regard. Who's your winner? Who are you fading? Who are you pivoting to? All of that good stuff. One last thing here before I forget, and I'll make sure to mention it at the end of the show as well. I am taking next week off. There is no PGA tournament next week that I am at least aware of, as next week is the Olympics. I don't know anything about the course. Any advice that I would give you would be very surface level. I do not want to do that to you all, my viewers, so I am going to take next week off, just kind of rest and recharge before we hit the home stretch here. So no shows next week. If that changes, I will make sure to post it to social media. So again, go follow me over there for all of the updates. But we are here for this week and the DFS for the 3M Open. So let's figure out our strategies and our tactics for the 2024 3M Open. And we start, as we always do on a Wednesday night, over at the super forecast with Windfinder. And while you get your first look at that, we'll take a drink and then we'll cover the poll question for the evening. The poll question, pretty simple, but is going to dictate a lot of what you do this week in terms of your lineup creations. So the poll question: are you avoiding the players traveling back from the Open Championship this week? With all that travel, I'm thinking of especially players like Billy Horschel, Sam Burns. Billy Horschel right there until the end. Sam Burns played very well, so they were grinding for the entire week over at the Open Championship versus other players like Finau and Batia and Tagala who missed the cut. So the question is, are you avoiding the players coming back from the Open Championship this week? Yes, no, mostly, or somewhat. Didn't have a whole lot of room to expand on, maybe one or two players, et cetera, et cetera. So would love to hear the community's thoughts on that. And of course, I will give you my answer at the end of the show. But let's take a look at this forecast for Blaine, Minnesota. Thursday, tomorrow, looks great. High in the upper 70s. The wind starts off really, really calm. I believe they've had a little bit of rain this week, but not a whole lot. The wind looks like it's going to pick up a little bit throughout the day on or tomorrow. And then starting Friday, wind is going to be a major factor. And it's a big factor throughout the entirety of the weekend. So I will go ahead and just show you that. Saturday looks chaos. Gusts into the 30s. Sustained winds up near 20. Sunday looks a lot of the same. Although, the gusty winds aren't as high on Sunday. There's also some rain in the forecast overnight on Sunday, so that potentially could creep into Sunday's championship as well. So be aware of that. But other than tomorrow, there looks like there is a lot of wind in play or going to be a factor this week in Blaine. With that, as we come back to the super forecast, I don't see a whole lot here in terms of a wave advantage. Hey, good evening, Barbarian. Thanks for jumping in chat. It's good to see you. We are going to try and keep the momentum this week for the 3M. I've been on 2 straight weeks of pretty solid results. The Scottish Open week was fantastic, hitting the outright and everything. ISCO was right. Last week was solid, certainly profitable, but would have been really nice had I hit a winner. But can't always hit a winner every week. But that's what we're going to try to do, and we're going to try to find the optimal plays this week for DFS. So it's good to see you in chat this evening. For the wave advantage, I'm actually going to, again, this is very negligible. I'm talking about tiebreakers. I'm talking about, if you're really trying to decide between player A and player B, I'm actually probably going to favor the Thursday AM, Friday PM portion because I want them to get the best wind. Clearly, they are getting the best wind between Thursday and Friday. Now, you could argue they're getting the worst as well Friday afternoon. But the reason why I'm going to maybe push back a little bit on that, while they definitely have the highest sustained winds during the cut portion, notice that the gusting winds aren't too dissimilar from the sustained winds. It's just simply windy, at least in the forecast, Friday afternoon and Friday evening. Whereas Friday morning, you're getting some calmer winds, but the gusts do pick up in intensity. So, a professional, there are a few things that professionals, or that will keep scoring down. Firm greens is one of them. The other is unpredictable weather, or unpredictable wind gusts. If a professional is accounting for their ball to do something, and they get a gust, there's literally nothing they can do. So, because of that, I'm actually slightly favoring the Friday PM on that day alone anyway. And then clearly Thursday AM's got the better end of the wind. So I am going to give a slight advantage to Thursday AM, Friday PM. But it is not much. I would not avoid anybody if you really like that player if they're in the Thursday PM, Friday AM. I'm just favoring Thursday AM because I want to target this least amount of wind. Hey, good evening, Pete. Thanks for jumping in chat. It's good to see you. Hopefully we're ready for the 3M Open. I see you have been at it on social media I quite approve of a couple of things that you put on there. Pretty funny. Well done, but it's good to see you this evening. Thanks for jumping in chat. We are hopefully going to keep the momentum this week for the 3M. Hammering away. That's right. That's right. So there's a look at the forecast for the 3M. At least in terms of Thursday and Friday, wind is going to be a big factor. It's going to be a factor in the entirety of the weekend. It's going to be a factor on Friday. Tomorrow is the day that players are going to have to score extremely well, and that's why I want to kind of target the Thursday morning wave. So with that, we're going to move to Fantasy National. So in moderate and windy conditions, the past 2 years, our top performers have been Sahith Theegala, Sam Burns, Harry Hall, Patrick Rogers, Carson Young, Andrew Novak, Adam Schenk, Akshay Bhatia, Sam Stevens, and Dylan Wu. There's your top 10 in terms of wind performance over the past couple of years in moderate and windy conditions. And then the players that have not played well: Nick Watney, Kevin Kisner, Thorbjornsen. Granted, it's only 6 rounds, but he did not play well last year in the wind, as you can see, losing strokes in all but 1 round. EVR, Russell Knox, Hoagie has not been terribly effective in the wind. Whoops, I meant to actually click on him and take a look at. So you see the windy performance, pretty poor. Let's see some others here. Justin Lauer, Will Gordon, Thurston Lawrence, although he played very well last week. So we're talking just PGA Tour. He hasn't been the greatest. So anyway, there's a look at some of the players who have not played all that well in moderate and windy conditions. I mentioned it all week. I was not terribly comfortable with a lot of the filters this week. Yes, this course is technically sitting over 7,400 yards, but it sits at elevation, so it's not going to play that long. So I didn't like that filter. With the amount of wind that's been in the forecast, I'm not terribly confident that this is going to be easy. If we look at the historic conditions, 2022, 2 rounds of windy, 2 rounds of moderate, played somewhat difficult that year. Tony Finau's win. Cameron Champ, every single round was average, so I didn't have a strong feeling on where or how difficult this tournament's going to be with all that wind. So nothing else really to look at in terms of overview that's not in the mixed condition model. There is a little bit of wind in the mixed condition model, which is quite different than what I usually do. But no easy, no difficult. So yeah, let's just go ahead and go into the mixed condition model. See what perhaps you may disagree with me, but we'll explain why I am on certain players when we get to the rankings later this week, and then we'll show you how I am approaching or attacking TPC Twin Cities this week. So we start off, mentioned all week that I'm just targeting the ball strikers. These greens are not difficult to putt. Yes, putting has been a pretty big deal here at the 3M over the past 3 or 4 years or so. But these greens aren't very difficult to putt. There's not a lot of slope or undulation, not a lot of complexity to them. So I just want to see the guys who are going to put themselves in the best position to make those putts. So 15% off the tee. There is a lot of water in play here at TPC Twin Cities, so I want to make sure these guys are able to actually stay in play, not pull a me and where the ball is just flying straight into the lake. Guys are going to have to be somewhat accurate, but they're also going to need to be long. Length does help here at TPC Twin Cities. So 15% off the tee. This, if anything, this is a little bit heavy, but again, I am just focused on the ball strikers, so I'm really leaning into it. 20% approach. Again, with all of the water in play, there's a lot of water protecting greens. Players are just going to have to be accurate with their irons. And no real proximity, as you have everything from short par, bomb and gouge par fours, very short par fours, to 500 plus par fours where it's going to demand a long iron. So just all throughout the bag, players are going to have to hit their irons well to contend here. So 20% in approach, 5% on bent or lightning or fast and lightning bent greens. Gosh dang it, get together, Nick. 5% on fast and lightning bent greens. Again, putting is a decent factor here, but I don't want to overweight the just traditionally good putters. He's not in the field, but think a Denny McCarthy. I don't want to overweight those players because poor putters have won this event fairly recently, fairly commonly. Tony Finau is a past champion here. Not a great putter. Cam Champ, dreadful with the putter. He won here, and he gained a bunch of strokes doing it. So these greens aren't difficult. I did want to give a slight boost to somebody who might be a bent specialist, and we'll talk about one of those when the rankings, or when my rankings come up, and especially through the price board. So I didn't want to ignore it, but only 5%. I didn't want to overweight it. 5% in good drives and greens with the moderate and windy filter. Now this is the first time this year I have used the moderate and windy filter specifically in the mixed condition model. Generally, and that's why generally I start off any Wednesday night show with a look at the forecast and the players who are good and bad in the wind, because I generally just factor that in on my own off stream or when I'm doing my own lineups. But again, I'm not confident in any filter of easy or difficult relative to par. I'm not confident in the over 7,400 yard filter. The one thing I do know this week, at least by forecast, is that there's going to be a lot of wind. And I want to see the players who are mostly with their irons, but still also hitting fairways, but mostly with the irons, who are good iron players still in the wind to avoid the water. So that's why I'm using these two metrics with that moderate and windy filter. I only have it at 5% because I don't know how well this is going to actually do in terms of results and predictability. So that's why I only have it at 5%. But that's why I have these two in there, because I think good drives and I think greens are going to be important. I just wasn't confident in what filter to use, and the more I looked at the forecast and it started coalescing, I guess is the best way to put it, into a pretty wind-filled event. I just decided to use the moderate and windy filter. 10% in opportunities. I did not want to use opportunities in the wind, although you can argue to look at that. I don't have any birdies. I don't have any bogeys. So that could be a part where I'm weak if one of those two really take precedence. But it's been pretty even throughout the years here at TBC Twin Cities. So instead, I'm just going to look at opportunities. Because these greens aren't difficult to putt on, let's just see who's firing at flags, essentially. You could also argue maybe total procs, but I like this opportunities gained metric. I've been growing on this metric a little bit. So 10% in opportunities. We're going to finish the mixed condition model out with 5% in par threes. Look, we saw throughout the week they just didn't add a lot of value here. You're going to have to play them somewhat well, but most of the winners here are gaining about 1 or 2 shots for the entirety of the tournament on par threes. There's not a lot to be gained there. Instead, it's in the par fours, and there's no real length. Even the short par fours here will fall under 350 yards at times. They have played under 350 at least one of them every year. We've got every single range of par four, from under 350 to over 500. It's just a good collection of par fours. They generally add quite a bit of value for the players who are playing well at the 3M. So 20% in par fours, and then to end off 15% on par fives, specifically 550 to 600. Remember, all three par fives here at TPC Twin Cities are from 590 to 600. 593, 594, 596. And they very rarely deviate from that. They haven't played over 600 yards in a couple of years. So they're generally right to their true yardage with that. So there's a look at the mixed condition model for the week. Mentioned a couple areas where I might be weak. Again, I'm really leaning into the ball striking, so if off the tee doesn't matter that much, I'm pretty sure approach will. If off the tee doesn't matter that much, or if putting matters a little bit more, I'll be slightly weak to it just because I'm focused on the ball striking. I went into some pretty good detail on how this might not be the optimal metric and filter combination. That's why I only have it at 5%. Opportunities versus proximity, things of that nature. If a specific length of par 4 actually matters this year, I'll be weak to that. But overall, that is the mixed condition model for the 3M Open this week. With that, let's reveal the rankings, or at least my rankings for the 3M this week. As a reminder for new viewer, or as a reminder for returning viewers, for your information, if you're a new viewer, my rankings are based on 3 criteria. The FNGC rank, which is a straight numerical ranking based on the mixed condition model we just went over, the metrics and the percentages in them. Course value is an attempt at giving a player a numerical value at how well they have played that specific course the past 5 years. The lower the number, the better. So you see somebody like Tony Finau, who has traditionally just been very, very good here, has a very low value, meaning it's good. And then we are playing DFS. We are wanting to find unique options. Sorry, I'm copy pasting so that way I don't mess anything up when I start sorting. The third facet of my rankings, we're playing DFS. We're trying to find unique options. So projected ownership, and these are projected ownerships per Fantasy National, is also a part of my rankings. So the rankings for the 3M go as such. Tony Finau, big shock, is my number 1 player this week. Keith Mitchell, second. Tom Hoge, third. Keegan and Doug Gim round out my top 5. Ben Griffin, Sam Burns, Johnny Vegas, the return of Matt Wallace. What seemingly has been my mad scientist play quite a few times in the past, returns to being 9th in the rankings. And then 10th is Luke Clanton. I'm not really shocked by any of these. The Gim Reaper, yes. So when you don't factor putting in all that much, he's going to rise. And we only have 5% in putting. And you also see that he's started to return back to his Doug Gim-like iron play. 11th. Now, this is a weaker field, sure, but he is still 11th in this field in irons. He's also taking care of par 4s very, very well. And look at his performance in the wind, particularly with good drives and greens. So I do like Doug Gim this week. He's not as unique as I was hoping, at least per Fantasy National, but there's a lot to like with Doug Gim, and he has played fairly well here in the past. Just feels like we're getting a briefing before we go into battle. I don't know if that's a compliment or a comment, but either way, I'll take it. I just try to be thorough. That's all. Especially since I can't assume or know when somebody comes into the show and not. One of my biggest pet peeves is when someone who's giving information assumes you've been listening the whole time. Sometimes people just drop into the middle of the show. So I just try to be thorough. Try to be concise and quick. Doesn't work all the time, but try to be concise but thorough. Ex-military, well, thank you for your service. Very appreciated from this end. Let's see. Ben Griffin might be a tad bit of a surprise. I mean, I'm not necessarily as high on him. I've talked about how he is having an eye procedure done, I think, at the end of the year. But there's no denying he's been playing very, very well lately. Johnny Vegas might be a little bit of a surprise for some, but I know he's played this tournament very, very well. And when you focus on ball striking, he's going to rise because the putter is woeful. But no surprise for me. So yeah, there's a look at the rankings for the 3M, at least for me. I'm going to sort on this price board. I see a storm is rolling in. P can also attest to life in the Midwest. It's great. You get just these random storms, even though it's been sunny all day. So let me sort on the salary, and we're going to see where our fellow contestants seem to be going on the price board and figure out what pivots that we want to go to. Also, Gabe is kind enough to share his sources information, or his projected ownership source with me. So we'll compare and contrast. Some of the actual percentages might be off or contradicting each other, but get a decent feel for where a lot of Fantasy National members and more of the general public seems to be going. So in the 5 digits, in the 10Ks, we only have 3 players, and none of them above 11,000. We have Tony Finau at 10.5, Seth Theegala at 10.3, Sam Burns at 10,000 even. Both sources, Fantasy National and Gabe's source, has Tony Finau the overwhelming most projected owned player. I cannot dispute them for it. I'm going to have a lot of Tony Finau. Just makes a whole lot of sense. He's played very well here. He also missed the cut at the Open Championship, so he might have had a couple of extra days. If you're considering that, which, by the way, that is the poll question for the evening. So if you have not filled that out, I ask that you do so. But you see all 3 of these players rated out well. I'm actually only playing Tony Finau in the 10Ks. Seth Theegala kind of worries me. We saw this on Sunday night. If you're a big believer in course history, which I don't think it's nothing here. I think there's something to about it. Theegala's 0 for 3 here. He's missed the cut all 3 times. So if it were only once or twice, okay, maybe. But there just seems to be something about this course that he is either not figured out or doesn't like. And I think a lot of that has to do with how wayward he can get off the tee. Hey, good evening, Derek. Mr. Streamwell, you're here now. You might have missed it Monday, but I think it was you that asked when the next show was Sunday night. So my usual schedule, barring things outside the stream, I go Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. So there you go. Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. And then I will do Tuesday shows if it's a double tournament week like the Open Championship, like the Scottish. But it's good to see you this evening. Thanks for jumping in chat. Hopefully we are ready for the 3M Open. We're going to finalize our lineups and find the winner and find the optimal plays this evening. It's good to see you. Thanks for jumping in chat. But yeah, so I'm not playing either of these 2. I know Sam Burns played extremely well at the Open. I get it. Each of the streams I try to make an hour, go from 9 to 10 Eastern. I will not cut off any questions. So I mean, don't be afraid to ask questions, even if it's given, even if it's going long. I will always be here for questions from the community. I try to keep it at an hour, but the DFS show particularly is pretty popular, so that one generally tends to go longer. But yeah, because of both of these players and their propensity to be pretty darn wild off the tee, I'm not thrilled about using either of these. So these two are actually full fades for me. Burns kind of worries me because he has played well here, and of course coming off the Open Championship performance. But I'm just going to use Tony Finau if I'm in the 10Ks, which probably tells you the kind of lineups I'm building. But I'm just off of these two. If they play well, I'm going to lose. But if they don't play well, I'm going to gain a whole lot. Because they're pretty popular. Well, Tagala's not necessarily as popular. He's sitting around anywhere between 9 to 12%. But Sam Burns is anywhere from 13 to 20%. Gabe's source has him at 20%. Fantasy National members don't seem to be as high on him. So if Sam Burns does not play well, I am in a very, very good spot. And I'm willing to take that chance because his driver can really take him out of a tournament, especially here because of all the water in play. So I'm just going all Tony Finau in the 10Ks. In the 9s, Batia is fine. Second most projected owned player on the slate. Close to 30% would be my guess. It's fine. It's just very popular. So be aware of that. I'm also a little bit concerned with Batia, even though he doesn't putt well generally. And a lot of the players that I'm targeting this week don't putt well. I mean, i.e. Tony. Akshay's 2 wins have come on POA. The Barracuda last year is bent and POA Anna, but it has POA. And then the win this year at the Valero is POA Trivialis Overseed base Bermuda, but POA Trivialis Overseed. This is pure bent. So I'm much more aching to believe this bad putter as opposed to some others we'll talk about, just based on where he's won. Finau, but put it this way, those are the 2 most projected owned players on the slate. If you do that, you're going to have to find a lot of uniqueness. Because right from the get-go, you're setting yourself up for a 4v4. And that's just really hard. It's really hard to climb in those big GPPs without some uniqueness. I mean, I like Batia, but I'm going to be underweight on him. Just because of all the ownership. I mean, he's projected at 30%. It's a lot. So I'll have Batia. Don't get me wrong. This is not a full fade, but I'm gonna be off of him. I'm gonna be underweight on him because there's a couple of other players in the 9Ks I really like. I'm also not using Billy Horschel. Kind of the crux of the poll question for the evening. Like Billy Horschel was in contention all weekend. I mean, really most of Sunday as well. Like you can envision a letdown from Billy Horschel. Surprised he didn't withdraw, but credit to him. He committed to playing and he's playing. I'm not there with Billy Horschel this week. I mean, he's played it once or twice and he's been fine, but I can just see a letdown because that's a lot of adrenaline to come off of contending at the Open Championship. He's also at 20% per Gabe's source. So this is one player that Fantasy National and Gabe's source are kind of disagreeing on. Is the popularity of Billy. I'm just not there with Billy this week. If he plays well, I'll lose. Short game was the best I've ever seen. Got so lucky with those chip shots. Whether it was luck or not, yes, he was very, very good around the green over at Troon. Because you see the irons weren't great. He's generally a good putter. So that's another reason why I'm a little bit off of him. Because I think it might have been a little bit of smoke and mirrors over at Troon. The others in the 9Ks I really like. Keith Mitchell going to be extremely popular, but I like him. Yes, he doesn't putt well. I get it. Third in irons, third off the tee, first in opportunities. It if his putter takes him out of the tournament, so be it. I understand the risk going into it. I'll be using some Keith Mitchell. Clanton should be fine, but Clanton's getting some love. He's not going to be nearly as unique as you might think. Anywhere between 15 to 19% between the two sources. So you see he rated out third. Small sample size, but he rated out third per the metric, just purely by the numbers. So, I mean, the numbers love him. He's just not going to be terribly unique, so be aware of that. Poston should be fine. He's played fantastic here. I'm going to have to speed this up because that storm's coming in really quickly. Poston's fine. A little bit popular, but I like Poston a lot, and I am all over Keegan Bradley. If Keegan Bradley does not play well, I will lose. I was talking about in the mixed condition model how I didn't want to ignore the any bent putting. I mentioned bent specialists. Keegan's not really a great putter, but you see his putting on bent. Second on fast and lightning bent greens. It's a big reason why I'm kind of big on him. He's played fairly well here. He's in decent form, Open Championship notwithstanding. I'm all over Keegan Bradley. Give me all of the Keegan Bradley. I can handle. If he does not play well, I will lose. Moving to the eights, just very quickly, it seems like Tom Hoagie, Cam Davis are the popular plays. Between those two, I'd probably take Cam Davis. I don't feel great about it. Both of them have played well here. I worry about Tom Hoagie in the wind. Tom Hoagie does not play well in the wind. And we saw that the forecast is filled with wind. So, not in love with it. In the 8Ks, I like Griot. Don't sleep on Griot. Again, focused on the ball striking. I'm not worried about bad putters, other than maybe Batia. I'm not worried about bad putters. These greens aren't tough to putt. So give me Griot. He has been very good here. 4 for 4, maybe 4 for 5. But he's been very good here. I like Griot. I like Mav McNeely. Take a look at Mav McNeely as well. In the low 8s. Let's see. Surprised to see Dunlap low ownership after winning last week. I mean, it's just the PGA, kind of like with Billy Ho, just the letdown after the adrenaline of a win. Generally, people stay away from winners. So Dunlap could be good at this course, but he has shown in his 2 wins, the Amex and now the Barracuda, those 2 places are easy. I mean, those are birdie fests. I have my suspicion that this is not going to be a birdie fest, so I'm lower on Dunlap than what it seems. He's rising in my rankings just due to him being fairly low owned, at least projected low ownership per Fantasy National. So I'm not as high on him. I'll probably have him once, but not crazy about it. Moving into the upper 7s, look, do what you want with Ben Griffin. I'm going to play him. He's burned me a couple times because I said I was going to full fade him with that eye issue, and he's played well still. I like Hadwin a lot. You talk about bent putting. I really like Adam Hadwin. Take a look at Sam Stevens as well. And if I'm liking a lot of these players, like Griot, like McNeely, Hadwin, Stevens, you can imagine the kind of lineups I'm building if I'm in the mid to low 8s and upper 7s. Those are the lineups I'm kind of building. But I like Hadwin, I like Stevens. Mac Meisner rated out extremely well. He was in contention, kind of in charge of the Barracuda for a long time on Saturday and Sunday. Matt Wallace, your mad scientist play this week. He's not the mad scientist play, but he did rate out 10th. He has made his way back into consideration. I like Matt Wallace. I do. I like Johnny Vegas as well. Don't sleep on Johnny Vegas. He really likes this course. Hoey's just been playing extremely well lately. He's going to be very popular. Be aware of that. But he's been playing very well. Novak has gotten some steam. Okay, I guess. I'm not in love with it, but I guess I can kind of understand it. Then moving into the low 7s, I like Doug Gim. Not worried about the putter. This is a ball striking thing. I really like Doug Gim. I really like Neil Shipley. Shipley sitting, around 20% or 20. Gosh dang, I meant 10. At least for Gabe's source, Shipley is at 4. Man, if he's closer to that 4 than the 10, I'm going to be all over Neil Shipley. I really like Neil Shipley this week. The player that is getting a whole ton of attention is Austin Eckroat. And I understand why. Ball striking has been fantastic. A winner earlier this year. It's fine. But his putter has been a disaster in the past 2 to 3 months. Been an absolute disaster. So I'm a little worried. With Eckroat. I'm going to have him be a little worried. Do I like Jake Knapp? He didn't rate out well. I would be a little bit higher on him than close to last in this field. The irons have not been great. That's what's worrying me. I mean, when a fifth of my mixed condition model is in irons with a poor performance in there, it's hard to really get behind somebody. He did play well at the Barracuda last week, but I personally don't. But I am a little bit higher on him than 144th, but I'm not using him. No. If I'm in this area of the price board, I like Shipley. I like Kevin Yu. I really like J.J. Spawn as well. Same price as Austin Eckroat. You get off the chalk of Eckroat. Eckroat is sitting, I'm not kidding, per Gabe's source, Eckroat's sitting at 22%. Ugh. I mean, at the same price, I'm almost rather play Spawn anyway. Spawn's sitting at 5%. So give me J.J. Spawn in the low 7s. Along with Shipley, Doug Gim, even Kevin Yu a little bit. Dylan Wu in the low 7s I like as well. And then at 7,000, Hayden Buckley's worth a look. I'm not in love with it, but it's worth a look. You see the off the tee, pretty solid. 2 6K plays for you all. And I know I'm going through this fairly quickly, but a storm is seemingly right outside my window. 2 6K plays for you all. I will mention Bryce Garnett at 6,400 simply for the fact that he is 5 for 5 here at the 3M, averaging a 30th place finish. I know that doesn't sound great, but at 6,400 and 2 to 3%, whatever he's going to be serviceable if he does that again. He's been good with the irons. Pretty good putter. You worry about the off the tee. He's also been pretty good in the wind. So take a look at Bryce Garnett, especially if you are a big believer in course history. But the mad scientist play for the week is Nick Hardy. Another one of your boys, P. Really like Nick Hardy this week. You see top 20 in this field in irons to go with plenty of opportunities. Putts very well, especially on bent. Good off the tee. His bad thing has been par 4s. Yeah, he'll have to be better at them. No doubt about that. But the mad scientist play for the week is Nick Hardy. Don't forget, he top 15 this last year. So, I think top 15 or top 20. So, I mean, very, very strong. So that's the mad scientist play this week. Just played the par 3 course. Hardy has the record at. Nice. Hardy's a great pick. Thoughts on Kevin Chappell? He's been good the last 2 events. He has been. I will definitely. Chappell's been very good. Hopefully, I don't know if you heard that, Thunder, but it's right there. Chappell, do you know what his price is? Just very quickly. There he is. I got it. He really takes advantage of par 5s. So that's what's going for him. He's good off the tee. Takes advantage of the par 5s. I don't hate it at 63. He hasn't been necessarily great here. Like I said, I mentioned Garnett because of the course history. Zach Johnson honestly might be worth a look as well. But the mad scientist play is Nick Hardy. All right, let's go to tiers lineups or tiers contests, and then start making some lineups. I'm gonna have to rattle through this here fairly quickly because I still need to submit my lineups, and I hope I don't lose power. So tier 1, Tony Finau, Sahith Theegala, Sam Burns. Very easy for me. It's Tony Finau, no ifs, ands, buts. Just Tony Finau. Tier 2, Batia, Billy Ho, Keith Mitchell, Luke Clanton, and Keegan. Give me Keegan. Keith Mitchell probably is the spikier play, meaning he has, to me, he'd have the higher potential to win the tournament. But I'm just much more confident in Keegan. I don't think he's going to be widely as owned, especially in a tiers contest when you have Batia and Billy and Keith Mitchell. Like, I think Keegan might actually be the lowest owned player in this tier, and I would probably rate him 1B to Keith Mitchell's 1A. So give me Keegan in tier 2. That frees up a lot of uniqueness for me the rest of this construction. Tier 3, Poston, Davis, Hoagie, Pendrith, and Griot. As much as I like Griot, ooh, this is close. It's between Poston and Griot for me. I like Griot, but I might go Poston. I don't think Poston has the implode ability that a Griot does. So give me Poston in tier 3. Tier 4, EVR, Dunlap, McNeely, Hodges, Rogers, Griffin. Ugh. Can I just take 2 from 3 and skip? Dunlap could be good. Actually, give me Matt McNeely. I'll probably go McNeely here. He's played fairly well here. He might be popular, but I'm not too worried about the popularity since we took Keegan and we took Poston slash who's in the last one? Poston or Griot, who are going to be unique in that tier. So, yeah, give me McNeely. Not in love with it. I mean, if you have a strong feeling about Dunlap, sure. If you have a strong feeling on EVR or Ben Griffin, it's fine. I'll just give me McNeely. Tier 5, Hadwin, Stevens, Kitayama, Thorbjornsen, Hughes, Mac Meisner, Chan Kim. Give me Hadwin. Hadwin's fine. Stevens could be interesting. Meisner and Chan Kim are playing the best right now of these 4. But give me Adam Hadwin. You see, he's played pretty darn well here in the past. And then finally, tier 6, Buckley, Berger, Kazire, Champ, Smalley, Hoffman, and the amateur De La Fuente. I'm not in love with any of these. Kazire, actually, maybe Hayden Buckley. Yeah. Give me Hayden Buckley in tier 6. Any tips for round 1 showdown? I'm doing the big lottery. Finau and Pendrith. So not sure what players to pair up with him. Target the players that are playing early tomorrow. I think the Thursday AM has a decent advantage on day 1. Squeeze as much of the early wave that you can for round 1 showdown. In fact, give me 1 second. I'll bring up the course breakdown. Let's take just a very, very quick look here at the turns. Let's see. So 18 and 1, but 17 and 2 are pretty tough. Let's see. 8, 9, 10, 11. Neither of the turns are a great birdie streak chance. I think if you had to choose, like in a tiebreaker scenario, I might target the guys that tee off on 10, because if they happen to birdie 17 or birdie 2, like 18's a good birdie chance, 1's a good birdie chance. But I would definitely target the early wave. Early wave more so than starting tee. The wind changed. If you want to take a look at it, just rewatch the beginning of it. I bring in Wind Finder at the beginning of the show. Sorry, that storm's right on me. So this tier's construction goes Finau. I believe we went Keegan in tier 2. We went Keegan in tier 2, JT Post in tier 3. Tier 4 was McNeely. Tier 5, we went Adam Hadwin. Tier 6, we went Hayden Buckley. All right. Don't know if I'll be able to make chalky lineups. You'll just have to go by these projected ownerships. Let me show you the 2 lineups that I've been building mostly. If I am in the 10Ks, I will use Tony Finau. He's going to be extremely chalky, but I don't want any part of Tagala or Burns because I'm afraid how wayward they can get. So if I am using Tony Finau, or if I'm in the 10Ks, I am using Tony Finau, I gave you a couple players that I'm willing to go to in the sixes. I'll go to Nick Hardy. Bryce Garnett's also fine. You can also build Tony Finau lineups without going into the 6Ks. It's possible. I don't like them very much. And going to Nick Hardy gives you a whole lot of uniqueness. So I've been going Tony Keegan, and I'm going to use Keegan in the other lineup as well. Just sub 10% on a guy that I think has a really good chance to win this tournament, foreshadowing my betting card. Really like Keegan this week. So I've been trying to get as much Tony and Keegan as I can into my lineups if I'm going into the 10Ks. So Tony, Keegan, and you see this gives us 8,000 still per player. So, I mean, you can squeeze in a Poston. You can squeeze in a Cam Davis I'm not as high on, but you can do it. Taylor Pendrith, maybe. You've mentioned Derek. For me, you could go like a Griot or a McNeely. Let's throw Mav into this. I do like Mav this week. And then 7,800 per player. You know, this is Sam Stevens, who I like. Adam Hadwin. 77 is Mac Meisner, Johnny Vegas, Matt Wallace. We can throw into this. Look, you're at almost a sub 60% cumulative ownership lineup with the number one player on the docket. Keegan Bradley loves this tournament, loves Bent. I think Keegan's going to have a very good tournament. McNeely a little bit more speculative, but I do like his chances this week. This or Griot, and then you're just rounding out the rest of it how you see fit. Like, if you want to come off of Nick Hardy, you can. Absolutely. Maybe not as high on Hadwin. We'll go Matt Wallace at like 71 or 72. You can do like Dylan Wu or Spawn. I really like JJ Spawn this week. He's also teeing off early tomorrow. This is another 7,500 where you can go Johnny Vegas, Andrew Novak. I'm not necessarily as high on Svensson, but maybe. This could be Neil Shipley, who I really like this week. So, yeah, that is the way I've been building my Tony Finau lineups. I don't mind going to the 6Ks for Nick Hardy, maybe a Bryce Garnett a time or two, just so I can get Keegan. Shoot, I might even go like Finau, Clanton, Keegan, things of that nature. Is that a good round one shot? Hard for me to say without knowing the tee times offhand. I know Finau's in the morning. I think Keegan's in the morning tomorrow. I know Spawn's in the morning tomorrow. So those are players that I would target, yes. The lineups that I'm building, if they're not Tony Finau lineups, I've just been hammering the 8s and the 9s. Like Mitchell, Clanton, Poston, Keegan again. Like, I'm just going haywire with this balanced-ish type build. You know, find your combination. Batia, Clanton, Poston. Mitchell, Poston, Bradley. Batia, Clanton, Bradley. You know, whatever combination. I've been trying to get as much 3 9s in here, because you still don't have to come into the 6Ks. You still have 7,500 per player. So if you're willing to drop it at 6Ks, you could maybe even fit in a 4th if you wanted to get crazy. But the way I've been building these lineups mostly, like, I like Johnny Vegas. He fits into this. This is JJ Spawn. This is Neil Shipley. Austin Eckroat could work, although he's getting a lot of steam. The Gim Reaper. I like Doug Gim this week. He'd be the bottom of this. We have 76, 7,500. This is Mac Meisner, Chan Kim. If you like both of those players. Rico Hoey. Hard to argue against anybody in better form than Rico Hoey. Andrew Novak. Neil Shipley. I'll just throw in Kevin Yu, because I also like him too this week. So, I mean, you're leaving a little bit of money on the table, a little bit more owned just because you're squeezing in Mitchell and Poston and Vegas, who are a little bit more popular. But, I mean, this this lineup's probably not getting duplicated, or if it is, it's very little. Those are the two shells of lineups that I've been making. Tony Finau with one 6K, although I just showed you didn't have to do it, and then these balanced builds. Some of these Gary Woodland bet money to win. He's a loose cannon. Look, I want to pull for the guy just because of all the life things he's got going on. This doesn't feel like a good Gary Woodland fit. Right at 7,000, you see he has not played this tournament very well, or this course very well, in multiple tries. Irons haven't been great. Putter has been really bad. The one thing going for him is his wind. He is pretty good in the wind. But I want to root for him just for the sentimental value of everything he's gone through, but I can't recommend it as a good play in terms of DFS. But anyway, that is what I have for you all for the 3M Open. I got a couple of questions to answer. I apologize that it went through quickly, but pop-up storm. Thanks, Midwest. For me, my answer is somewhat to the poll question. Somewhat, like Billy Horschel. I envision a letdown from him. But I'm playing players like Keegan and Tony Batia a little bit, who were over there at the Open Championship. So kind of depends on the player, but my answer to the poll question is somewhat. Looks like the the winner of the poll question is no. Like, players are still willing to play guys who played at the Open Championship. I think that's where I would be if I had to choose one extreme or the other. Thriston Lawrence, I just don't know enough about him because he mostly plays on DP World Tour. I just don't know enough. I don't know enough about him to make an informed decision. If you have a strong feeling, play him. If you don't. That's how I handle most DP World Tour or foreign or off-tour players. Last thing is one and done. Keegan Bradley. I've used Tony Finau. I've used JT Poston. I've used Sahith Theegala. I've used almost everybody that's in the upper portion of the price board, with the exception of Keegan. And I really like his chances this week as a dark horse. Again, I've been foreshadowing him a lot coming up on this betting card. You'll see him on that. You'll see him on the most used players. I'm all in on Keegan this week. If he doesn't play well, I will lose. Quick reminder, no shows next week unless I am mistaken and that there is a tournament other than the Olympics. I'm not going to do anything for the Olympics. I don't know the course. Anything I would give you would be very surface level, and I don't want to do that to you all. So if you're going to play the Olympics, have fun with it. Feel free to reach out to me in the comments of this show or on social media if you want, or if you have some specific questions. I'd be more than happy to maybe look at something a little bit, but I'm not going to do any kind of full week of shows for the Olympics. But I need to thank Barbarian, P, and Derek for jumping in chat. It's much appreciated. And thanks to everyone else out there who tunes in, watches, listens, supports the channel by watching the videos, commenting, subscribing. I always appreciate it. Love what I do. Giving you a statistician's view of what he sees with golf statistics. Trying to help us all win a little bit of money in the process. Again, apologies for the quick show or the hurried nature to it. This storm is seemingly right outside my window. So yeah, be on the lookout later this evening for my betting card and my top player usage in the DFS contest I play. I'm also going to try to go over to Gabe's chat here momentarily, and you can try to catch us on over there as well. So thanks again for all the support, for all the wagers you have made this week for the 3M, for all the DFS contests you play this week at the 3M, for this weekend and every weekend. May all your bets be profitable.